Utah is home to an incredible community of farmers, craftspeople, and artisans. Individuals whose passion and dedication create the vibrant culinary landscape we celebrate. Every dish, every ingredient, every small batch creation tells the story of people committed to their craft, to the land, to connection with ourselves, with each other, and with the world around us. Nestled in the charming neighborhood just around the corner from Capitol Hill, you'll find ARLO, a neighborhood restaurant that captures the very essence of this spirit. At ARLO, each plate is a canvas and every ingredient tells a story, a tribute to the farmers, foragers, and makers who help shape Utah's culinary heartbeat. We're slowing down, stepping into the kitchen and community, celebrating ARLO, a space that truly feels like coming home. This week on Taste Utah. Rooted in a deep love for craft of cooking and intention in every inch of your experience, Chef Milo's approach is shaped by showcasing the community that surrounds and supports him through unique ingredients, his own skill set, and innovative, authentic recipes. The ingredients showcased at ARLO are the heart of his kitchen, thoughtfully sourced, lovingly prepared, and celebrated with a simplicity that honors the producers and the artisans behind them. And although the walls are bare and the decor is minimal, the artistry here is alive, found in the hum of the open kitchen, the connection between chef and guest, and the beautiful, heartfelt plates that arrive at your table. Milo, this looks incredible. So fun to spend some time back in the kitchen with you. Will you walk us through the dishes that you've chosen for today? And then do you mind if I put one in front of me?
I would go with the ravioli.
Okay, cool. All right.
Excellent. We can start with that.
Yeah.
So almost everything on that plate was sourced from a local producer.
Okay.
With a few exceptions. But this is a goat cheese and beet ravioli, very kind of simple preparation. We have a kale and sesame pesto on the bottom, as well as like a roasted fennel sort of relish on top.
Oh, it's so good. It's so bright.
We have a tomato salad. Usually like to serve it with stone fruit. In this case, it's got a fig leaf ricotta, as well as some pickled chilies, olives, cucumbers, some assorted herbs on top.
Beautiful. And are you sourcing most of that locally, would you say? Or?
Yeah, the fig leaves are what are used to make the ricotta. We'll actually separate the milk, so we just steal those from a tree down the block.
That's amazing. That's so fun.
Yeah.
We won't tell anybody what. Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah. We have permission. We got caught
them,
once, and they said that it was fine.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, then what do we have?
And then this is our trout entree. This is a rainbow trout. It's been formed into a roulade. It's stuffed with a mousseline made from the trout itself, as well as a little bit of cream, different herbs, some lemon zest. Pan roasted, served with an eggplant and sweet red pepper puree, some small white beans, and then relish of cucumber, celery, olives, fried capers, lemon. This comes from a farm called Riverence, which is in southern Idaho.
Great.
We decided to stop serving wild-caught ocean fish some time ago.
Okay.
And kind of in replacement for that, tried to serve some more local or locally available products. This producer, I think, they make an exceptionally high-quality product. It's very consistent, and the reception to that has been quite positive.
That's really cool. And how come you decided to stop sourcing the wild-caught ocean
Sure.
fish?
That's something that, in the time that I've been cooking, I've seen change quite a bit in terms of what is available, the price of it, the consistency, and it became sort of a struggle to constantly source these products. And then on the other hand, trying to reconcile the environmental impact and whether or not that was actually going to be a positive impact on the community and the restaurant industry as a whole. A lot of factors went into it, but it was something that we kind of felt like didn't really make sense to continue doing. Like I said, do try to source as much as possible from local growers and producers so that the things that we serve have sort of a sense of place, even if stylistically or in terms of like a specific cuisine, it's not really bound to one location. As much as we can use products that come from our area and our community, I think that like kind of weaves it together and makes the space a little bit more, cohesive, I suppose. Yeah.
So Milo, you showed me this cheese in the back when you were making this dish, and it's super unique.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
We found out about it at a cheese show that local retailer Caputo's put on, where they were featuring different products from different cheesemakers, brought a lot of different people in. It was really...
It's like my kind of party.
Yeah, no kidding. Easy to say yes to that invitation. But this cheese is called Belper Knoll. I'm probably not pronouncing that correct, but it's a Swiss cheese, or from Switzerland.
Okay.
But it's very unique in that it's shaped like a truffle, like a white truffle. It's hand shaped and then covered in black pepper, and it's meant to be shaped similar to how you would truffles.
And when you were showing me in back, like literally it was sort of breaking like you would expect, and even on the plate it looks like shaved truffle.
Right. Yeah, it's I think intended to kind of have the same flavor components as the dish cacio e pepe.
Such a nice touch to this dish.
Yeah, I guess along with, obviously that's not a local product, but it's amazing to have access to different retailers and purveyors that curate such an incredible selection of these products. It's exciting for us because we get to bring new things in and try new things, but also, giving our guests the opportunity to try something that's very unique. I've never seen a cheese like this in my life. Our beverage program is kind of guided similarly or in the way that our food menu is, in that we try to really hand select a small amount of beverages that maybe are not the most recognizable, I guess at least on our wine list in terms of the grape varietals.
Okay.
But really try to seek out value and quality of winemaking, or at least the people that are actually producing the products. Our menu is comprised of smaller production native grapes, things that are probably close analogs to some of these more recognizable grapes. So there are lots of different varietals that have been cultivated and harvested in different regions around the world that maybe don't make it out of the local market or haven't had as much exposure on the world stage. And so for that reason, I think that the product carries a higher value for the price. And so that's one of the things we try to focus on our wine list is finding something that not only provides a good selection, a good variety, but is maybe an interesting or unique experience for the guests.
That's really fun. So something that they may not be familiar with, but you vetted it and you know that it pairs well with food and company.
We've kind of shifted away from trying to have a very rigid wine pairing structure and really try to put an emphasis on just providing the guests with something that they'll enjoy.
Yeah, I love that.
And that usually requires asking people what they normally like to drink, and then from there kind of guiding them to something that they'll like. And it works well for us because I think that drives engagement with our service staff and the guests, and then also kind of makes that a little bit more memorable, or at least that's the intention. Sure. I think that I'm definitely more intrigued and interested in the products that we do have some sort of connection with, and that definitely kind of guides what we put on the plate.
I love it. And in the glass.
And in the glass.
Which I think is really special, because ultimately what that translates to is a unique experience that someone can have when they come here.
So this is just, I guess you would call it a spritz. We have a pretty significant selection of Amaro.
What is Amaro?
Amaro is classically an Italian aromatized wine, fortified wine, or which would be Vino Amaro, or liqueur with lots of kind of bitter herbs, commonly sourced from the Alpine regions of northern Italy.
Amazing.
And so they make up a lot of really complex, interesting beverages that I think are sort of underappreciated or under-recognized in some regards.
Yeah. I mean, I've never even heard of it.
Truly?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm 100%. That's why I'm just blown away at such a unique.
Sure.
Yeah.
They range in alcohol content and style based on where they're produced.
Okay.
They can be as low as, I think, 14% alcohol and as high as maybe 45.
Ooh.
But they can be quite strong and pungent.
Yeah.
And so I think a nice way to enjoy it, especially in the summertime, is on ice just with lemon and soda. Both the beverage and the food menu is relatively small.
Yeah.
But we try to concentrate more quality into the offerings that we have. And it also allows for us to have that conversation more directly or more deeply about this small list of things, as opposed to having. Our intention was never to offer everything to everybody.
The star of the show truly is this amazing kitchen back here, where you and your team work really diligently to provide people that experience on the plate and the glass. in the connection that they receive from a server or
Right.
even from yourself.
The intention or the kind of thinking behind the space originally when we opened was that the dining room, I wanted to leave it relatively spare.
Yeah.
Without, I guess, distraction, or there's no art hanging on the walls. I wanted it to feel sort of minimal and clean. There's a lot of like visual action and movement and motion in the kitchen. It's very brightly lit back there, and so I wanted that to sort of be the focus, so that as you're receiving the food, the environment is really focused on the table and what's in front of you, because this is where the most kind of like color and movement and action is. The intention was to kind of center the experience on this space with the people that you're dining with and the food that you're being served.
What I experience when I come here is that level of passion and care and hospitality and that desire to educate. Oh, I'm really excited about this new thing that I just learned about. I want to share it and pass it on to you. And I think that stems from even your curiosity in the kitchen of different ingredients, different methods, different techniques, and rooted in tradition, but then allowing for the ingredients to kind of do their thing.
Right.
We're back with Taste Utah, sharing the story of ARLO, a neighborhood restaurant in Salt Lake City, near Capitol Hill, to learn how Chef Milo is infusing his love for the craft in every thoughtfully composed dish he prepares. You and I go way back, like 15 years back, where
Yeah.
It's like, that dates us a little bit, but we worked together at Fresco.
Right.
You were in the kitchen with Chef Logan Crew, and I was a server there. And Fresco was just a really special place that was small, neighborhoody. You kind of had to know where you were going
Right.
if you're heading there.
I was there for 1 year.
For 1 year,
Yeah.
and then you left.
I left and I moved to California.
Okay.
And lived there for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then moved to New Zealand for a while.
Okay.
But used that time, really honestly, that had been after a period of like very intense work, almost nonstop for the period that I was living in California, and used that time to start to formulate some ideas and kind of create this sketchbook of a lot of different ideas and techniques that I had created from my experiences working all the way back to Fresco even, and started to kind of push towards this goal of opening a restaurant. Along the way, it was that process of kind of looking back and reflecting. It's interesting you bring up Fresco because some of the elements that were at that restaurant I really admired. And one of the reasons that this physical space was so appealing was because of the patio, which we also had at Fresco, and really offers that. I think that's something that people seek out, and then also offers kind of like a really special, unique experience in a neighborhood restaurant. It feels kind of tucked away and private, but people really enjoy eating out there.
What are you most proud of?
I think that, I guess in reflection, the thing that I'm most proud of is the growth and progression of this business in terms of how it's changed or shifted from what I had kind of originally envisioned. I mentioned that I had been for a long time just collecting different ideas and writing recipes or dish ideas down for almost a decade before opening this place, and had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted the food to be, what I wanted the service to be like when I opened the restaurant, but immediately facing that challenge of having to kind of shift based on the pandemic. And it took some time, at least a few months, maybe a year or so, to come to terms with the fact that this project really is a progression, and that's very central to the way that I operate and the way that I view the restaurant, the entity as a whole, is that it's never going to be just this one thing. And kind of the like diversions and changes in directions that we've had along the way, where we continue to grow and operate and improve, has been the thing that I'm most proud of, because we've been able to step away from what that original sort of like rigid vision that I had was.
Yeah.
Which is, probably makes sense considering this is the first restaurant I've ever had, and maybe that's unrealistic or like naive to think that you can just kind of force something into this space. But the way that we've been able to kind of get through these different challenges, of which there have been quite a few, and I think some of them were predictable and others were a little bit less so. Like the pandemic was not on my certainly wasn't in my
your
business
radar,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah. But those are the things that kind of force you to step back and evaluate what it is you're doing and what is the purpose. And so now having, after 4 years, sort of established what I would call like a body of work and kind of like a style that we, at least try to consistently present. It gives us a little bit of a foundation for going forward, which is always the objective. I still really enjoy doing this, and I'm really engaged and kind of captivated by all the aspects of it, like especially this idea that it's almost like this sort of living organism, and the people that contribute and put work into it all have this impact and this mark on the experiences that the guests have, right? But equal to that is the experience that the people that work here have, because it's no small effort to work in a restaurant, as you know.
Yeah.
And it has its downsides, but that's what I think, for me at least, pays off.
I love it. We're back at ARLO, savoring a sweet finale. From the vibrant sumac jelly to the delicate rose petal powder, dessert at ARLO is pretty much like everything else they do. It's a masterclass in flavor, artistry, and intention. And it's the perfect way to end our time together or your meal, crafted straight from the heart.
This is a dish that's pretty frequently on our dessert menu, or at least in some variation. Kind of use the base structure and then do little riffs on it. But
love it.
This is kind of a play on a lemon tart, classic lemon meringue pie almost. It's a sweet pastry tart shell, lime custard that has black lime powder as well as lime leaf in it.
Okay.
There's a sumac jelly as well as a rose and cardamom powder on top, and then the small meringues that are flavored with cardamom and orange blossom water.
And you're making all of that in-house?
Yes. There's a surprising amount of ingredients that just grow in the neighborhood that are edible and beyond edible but usable. And so these are actually we have these really kind of beautiful rose bushes that bloom around like early June. And then they just dry out. And so we harvested the rose petals and made them into a powder and mixed them with a little bit of spice and kind of dust the top of the tart shell with that.
I love it. I think rose is one of the most underutilized ingredients in a culinary term. Like you see a lot of rose teas and things like that, but not a lot of rose infusion. And it's such a soft but nuanced flavor.
Right.
I just took my finger and kind of like dipped it in, and it's so bright and it tastes like summer.
The dishes that make up our menu change fairly frequently. I think that the goal is not to throw people off guard or to kind of make it unfamiliar or unapproachable. I think the opposite generally is one of the guiding kind of decision makers there is to try to present things that maybe initially some ingredients that people are unfamiliar with or combinations that they are, but the flavors, like lemon meringue pie, for example, right? Just like a little bit skewed version of that. But I think that when you taste it, it's maybe an observable, familiar combination.
Yeah.
But our menu does change very frequently. And that's, as I said, to stay updated with the seasons and kind of, what we want to cook at the time or what we have available.
I love it. How long have you been cooking for?
Years, several. Professionally, I've been cooking for 20 years.
Yeah.
Almost, off and on, but wow.
It's wild, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's a long time. So even when you talk about intention, you talk about meaning and purpose, it's like 20 years of learning, blood, sweat, and tears, experience, creativity, ingenuity, setbacks, triumphs. It's all of that you get when you walk in the door, when you sit down, and it shows, I think it shows.
That's the goal, right? And we're just going to continue working to communicate that or to demonstrate that. So.
And what do you love about cooking? It's 20 years. You're 20 years into it. You opened your own restaurant.
Nothing seems to have kind of the gravity or magnetism that I feel when I'm cooking, and especially in a restaurant kitchen. Other environments as well. But for better or worse, I mean, it's something that I've like had a hard time escaping from, and not that I've been trying to the whole time, but at points in my life, I've definitely had moments of consideration: is this something that I want to continue to do? And I always come back to how captivating and kind of like enchanting the process is, and how you know, as a form of communication, like cooking is like it can convey so much in what you put in front of somebody, whether it's serving food to you and your partner, or you and like having a dinner party at your house. You know, the message that can be communicated through just that simple act can be so profound and so meaningful to people. You know, but in a more simple sense, like a less like romantic kind of way, I just really appreciate the craft. I like working with my hands, and it's so many small challenges and factors and variables that it's just endlessly challenging, and like simultaneously, in a lot of moments, very rewarding. It can be kind of a struggle at points, just to try to continue to produce creatively and consistently, and to motivate the people around you to do the same. That's always something that like you're going to be searching for the energy and the motivation to do. But at the end of the day, I just am completely, I guess, driven by just the simple transformative act of cooking.
Thank you so much. This has been such an absolutely enjoyable experience, not only because the food is so amazing, the beverages are so great, but you just really are such an extraordinary human, and I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful that you have created this ARLO space to be such a gift to the community.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in.